Good evening. My name is Susan Stevenson. I'm the chair of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for the Village of Southampton, New York. I'm calling this meeting to order. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
I make a motion that we open this meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation on July 23rd, 2018.
Second?
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Need a specific vote?
Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan? Aye. Curtis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Great. I'd like to introduce our board members tonight. To my left, Robert Coburn, Christina Redding, Curtis Highsmith, and again, I'd like to recognize your service to the board as chairman for 12 years, and thank you for being so supportive of all the board members under your tenure. Thank you. And Jeff Broadleaf. Sorry, Jeff. You don't have 12 years.
I'll take a second to Curtis, that's okay.
I'd also like to make it clear that in this room, I expect that everyone will speak and act with civility. Anyone who intends to speak should sign in so we have a correct spelling of your name. And any materials you have for presentation should be laid out on the table facing the board, facing us, so the video can pick it up. I'd also like to introduce Antoinette Edwards, our secretary, and our videography, Charlie Styler, and our counsel, Bo Robinson. Let's get started. First first we have the minutes. Has everyone read the minutes for the previous meeting? Does anyone have any comments?
I did receive some comments and modifications were made.
Okay, great. So we will be voting on the modified minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for
I make a
July
motion.
9th?
You want to make?
Minutes, sorry, was there a modification to the minutes as submitted?
There were a few corrections that were then sent out.
And reinsert motion to approve the minutes as amended.
A motion to approve the minutes of July 9th as amended. Do I have a motion to approve
I
them?
make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 9th as amended.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Jeff seconds. How do you vote, Rob?
I vote aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan? Aye.
Pat abstained, I was not here.
Okay. Curtis abstains. Jeff?
Aye.
Okay. Next, signs.
First application is signage for Malbon Golf at 56 Hampton Road.
Is there anyone here to represent this application?
Is there sufficient material in front of you to vote
I
on?
think, is this the one that has, we don't know what color it is?
The two of them.
No, this one's okay. Has everyone seen it?
Well, I've seen it.
Seen it? Jeff?
Yeah, I've seen it as well.
Does anyone have any objections?
Nope.
No.
Should we present it to the public?
Oh,
Let
yeah,
Charlie pick it up?
it's pretty hard to do, since there's no one down there.
Here.
Zach, put it down.
He can also pick it up, I think, on the back camera if you just hold it up steadily. Charlie, can you pick that up?
Yes, here we go. Thank you.
This is proposed for over the doorway at 56 Hampton Road.
Do I have a motion to approve this
I
sign?
make a motion that we approve the sign on Hampton Road for Forey Golf and Malbon. Forey Golf and Malbon Golf.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Curtis seconds. Rob, how do you vote?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, aye.
Aye.
Curtis, aye.
Aye.
Jeff, aye. Next sign.
There are additional signs from Malbon Golf.
It's not on the agenda, is it?
Yeah, there were two of them. I think they combined them into...
Oh, I see, it says signs. I'm
This
sorry.
one, it's not clear what the placement on this is, both, so I'm not sure
You think it goes on the windows, does it say?
it doesn't say on the front either. This is exact same, doesn't mention the placement of the sign.
Does it look like it would be a window sign?
Kind of, but it's hard to say.
You can approve it conditionally that it is a
Okay.
window sign.
Do I have
What are the dimensions on it, Susan?
I say,
20 inches by 16
as
inches.
it's the same
It's
size.
relatively small.
Yeah,
That's
so-
my guess.
Yeah, motion to approve as a window sign. If it's not, then you're not approving it.
Okay. Does Charlie want to pick this up, or we? Doesn't it look like it would be for, yeah.
Could be rear entrance, though, too.
I don't know if there's a rear entrance to that building, this is public.
There are arrows on each of the signs, so,
But
but could be one. Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve this second sign. Were there any public, I'm sorry.
As a window sign, as a front window sign.
Were there any public comments? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve this sign from Malbon Golf as window signage on 56 Hampton Road.
Second.
Rob?
Aye?
Aye.
Christina, I. Susan, I.
Aye.
Curtis, I. Jeff, I. Okay, here this goes back.
Next application is Alice and Olivia at 64 Main Street.
We have a couple of a sign and awnings. What are we doing
Two
first?
separate applications. but The sign is coming first.
Really?
no.
This is the awning.
Okay, that's the one. Okay.
This is going to be hard for Charlie. Oh, you're here
Hi.
to talk about it.
Denise
Great.
from Hampton Signs, yes. It's 2 awnings and 1 sign. It's 2 balances that are the same size.
It's also on the table, Charlie.
Oh, great. Thank you. Does it say it's 2 awnings?
2 separate applications.
Is that an awning sign too?
This is
There are
a-
2 on this.
2 different size balances.
So that's the 2
It's a
awnings
double
on one
window.
application. That's 2 awnings on one
Okay, yeah.
And then
application.
there's a sign as a separate
there's a-
application.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just,
The material, it's black with
it's
white lettering?
It's umbrella black with the white lettering.
Okay. and these
The awnings are already currently there, they just want to letter the balances.
They just want to,
Letter the balances, the little flap that hangs down.
oh. Is there anything on the awnings? There's
No.
nothing on them now,
No,
is
they're
that
just
correct?
black.
Okay.
And you can see on this picture, that's the other sign that's proposed
White sign.
in the middle.
Yes, yeah.
Do you want to consider them separately, or I
I
guess?
think we're supposed to. They're 2 separate applications. Is there any comment from the public? Do I have a motion to approve the signs, the awning signs for Alice and
I
Olivia?
make a motion that we approve the awning sign on Main Street for Alice and Olivia.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Rob?
Aye?
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, I.
Aye.
Curtis, I. Jeff, I. Next,
Next is for the sign over the doorway to Alice and Olivia.
which is white with black lettering, the same
Yes,
kind
it's
of
raised letters,
logo.
raised pin letters.
Is there any comment from the public? Do I have a motion to, does anyone here have any objections to this sign? It's just the same, but it's the reverse. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the sign for Alice and Olivia on Main Street.
Thank you.
I second it.
Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Christina, I. Susan, I.
Aye.
Curtis, I. Jeff, I. I'm giving this back to you, Rob.
Next is a application from Armarium Incorporated at 28 Job's Land. This is for storefront, window storefront.
Are you signing tomorrow?
Yeah. Is there anyone here for this? Oh, do you want to be seated or stand up?
If I can stay seated, that would probably be...
This gentleman has a broken heel, so we're going to, can you hear him, Charlie?
Yeah, I'll be able to hear you.
Okay, just stay there.
Okay.
This is-
Yeah. What's up?
This is the sign.
Yeah, it's going to be a gray sign that with dark gray lettering. The sign already exists, it's just replacing what's in the plastic housing, so to speak. And so the piece of plexiglass that's there is out now, and then exactly, it will look like that when it's done.
And on this application, I don't actually see the dimensions. That's my problem. Even though it's stamped by the building department.
Well, I think it's because it's just what's existing there, but I didn't know it had to have the dimensions part of it.
Bo?
Speak up.
Yes.
I believe it's 30 inches by 53, roughly.
It replaces, there are no dimensions that I can find.
Changing the lettering of the sign.
Yeah, well, write the dimensions. Do you have the dimensions of the sign that's there?
I don't, I'm just here on behalf of
Oh,
someone.
wait, it's actually in black pen on the black surface, so it's a little hard to see. The space is, the actual sign is 8 inches by 24 inches, that's fine.
Why don't you write that so it's legible
I don't know where.
someplace
Lettering on the window.
so that you're approving a sign of that dimension?
You're keeping the background that's there and you're changing the lettering on the sign, is that correct?
Yes. The lettering now is pink and it's going to become
I
dark
think it
gray.
makes it worse to do it. I think you can kind of read it.
All right.
Can I show that picture to the,
Well, it's not really going to pick up.
and,
Oh.
Oh, yeah, 78 and, yeah.
Right, when it's blown up that big, you can actually see it.
and does the window lettering also exist currently underneath it?
No, not yet, not presently. They're going to be the same size, though. So the same sizing of the lettering on the window, 29 by whatever it is written.
22 by,
22 by 8, you
Yeah.
said? Yeah, so it'll be the same logo twice and the same exact sizing. the same
what is
exact font.
armarium?
I barely know, but apparently they
Just out
have
of
really,
curiosity.
really nice dresses that they rent and sometimes sell to people.
Okay.
This is like a
So
showroom
it's a
for them.
retail store. Okay.
Yes.
So this is an application for both that exterior sign and the window lettering as well?
Yes. That is correct.
Storefront, well, there are two, okay. Is there anyone from the public who wants to speak about this particular sign? In that case, do I have a,
I make a motion that we
motion?
approve the sign for on Merriam Inc. on Job's Lane.
do I have a
Both
second?
the storefront sign and the window sign.
I second.
Rob?
Aye?
Aye.
Christina? Susan, aye. Curtis?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Our final sign is Jones Trading, 67 Hampton Road, storefront sign.
It's a building front sign for an office, similar to some other signs.
Oh, it's on that building.
Denise Fenchel, Hampton Signs again.
Okay,
Pin lettering going up on the second floor, same scale as all the lettering on the building.
No backlighting or lighting being added.
No?
does anyone want to see? So it's on that. Are there any comments from the public regarding this? Do I have a motion to approve this sign? Does anyone on the board have anything to say about this signs?
No objections.
Pretty straightforward, I don't either. Motion to
I make a
approve?
motion that we approve the sign on Hampton Road, the storefront sign for Jones Trading.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Curtis.
Aye?
Rob,
Aye.
aye. Christina, aye. Susan, aye.
Aye.
Curtis, aye. And Jeff, aye.
Thank you.
That concludes the signs portion of our meeting. Next are written decisions, which,
We have 2 written decisions this evening. Both of them approve the applications as submitted, therefore an affirmative vote on either motion will be to approve the application.
okay. The first is the Village of Southampton, 17 Meeting House Lane, change of color. The barn is red. It's being changed to white.
This is part of the museum
Historic
property, right?
Museum, yes. Anyone, have you read, has anyone read this?
Yeah,
I've glanced at it.
yeah, it's pretty
I've read it.
straightforward.
So are we prepared to vote on this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So I need a motion to approve the written decision for the Village of Southampton.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision for the Village of Southampton on Meeting House Lane to change the color.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Curtis seconds. Rob?
Aye?
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, aye.
Aye.
Curtis, aye. And Jeff?
Aye.
Next, where is the original?
Being filed.
In the file.
That's the one that I need to do this to. Rob. Okay, I'm going to give this one to you.
Sorry, these are out of order, I apologize. I didn't see it. Where's the original instrument?
How about the next one? Do it tomorrow. Next is 101 First Neck Lane LLC, 101 First Neck Lane for driveway gates. Anyone?
Motion to approve written decision for 101 First Neck Lane LLC.
Can I pause for a moment? The written decision references a 35-watt light, but I think our consensus last week was a 25-watt light.
That was right.
Is that?
With 25.
With necessary corrections.
So can I just correct the original
certainly.
and put my initials on it?
Yes.
For the motion to approve the amended written decision for 101 First Neck Lane.
Motion was made.
Oh. Second?
I'll second the motion. Aye?
Aye.
Susan? Aye. Curtis?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff? Aye. Okay, motion carries. Okay, this goes back in the file. Copies, she likes the copies, so I put this back. Oh, this is the file? Here we go.
You can hand everything to me and I'll sort.
Okay.
The next file is for Lucky Dove LLC at 49 Culver Street for driveway gates non-historic.
Mark Cirillo from AutoGate Systems for the applicant.
And the last time we had an affidavit issue, but that's been corrected for Lucky Dove. But the posting and mailing were accepted at that time? Okay.
I have file copies of the, you have the copies for posting and mail with you?
The file copies of,
I have file copies for me. You have copies there for posting and mailing?
the actual affidavit for posting and mailing?
Copies if you like, that were filed last meeting.
It's not in the file.
It's not in the file. This is,
The affidavit of posting and mailing was submitted.
that's right, I thought, but where'd they go?
And that was filed with the building department directly, the disclosure affidavit, so I have a copy of
I
it.
have we have the disclosure, we just,
These are copies of the affidavits and then,
we don't know where it went, but we did, here,
those are stamped in last meeting.
so there's, okay, so
Thank you.
I think we
So we have them?
paperwork
Okay.
is acceptable, yes. Go ahead.
So this is a 48-inch high aluminum sliding picket style gate. Painted white. Picket spacing 3 and 15/16, just shy of 4 inches between the pickets. The cantilever section, which is the actual barrier that spans the driveway, is what you see with the vertical pickets to the center and to the right. To the left on that drawing, that's the brace section that's hidden in the hedges. So that's what supports the gate when it's closed. And as the gate slides open, it just slides along on an enclosed track, like a pocket door.
Yes. And it's white?
Painted white,
What's the material?
aluminum.
Board members, anyone have any comments? Jeff?
None.
There are no other gates on this. There's one other gate on the road across
Yes,
the
it's
street at wrought
indented,
iron.
kind of.
So just point that out, that there's not a precedent on the street, but it's close, very close to the
It's
CBD.
very tight, but evidently, yeah, driveway gates are allowed. I have a motion to approve the application for Lucky Dove LLC driveway gates.
I make a motion that we approve the application for Lucky Dove LLC on Calvert Hill for driveway gates.
Do I have a second?
I
Curtis
second.
seconds. Rob?
Aye.
Christina? Susan, aye. Curtis, aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next,
Next is 255 Flying Point Road for driveway gates. The affidavits are in the file.
and is there anyone here to represent Evelyn Economopoulos? Economopoulos. She was missing the
She didn't have the
posting-
affidavits.
The posting and the mailing, so now we have that?
But we don't have her.
Well, do we need her? Do we need her? Not really.
No.
Let's just continue. Because she was here in good faith last
Do
time.
we have the affidavits?
We do, yes.
The file is not.
So you've got jurisdiction.
Yeah. With an actual, great if we had a picture of the gate. We had that? Because we didn't open this file before.
There's a rendering in there.
Really?
Down at the bottom.
There's a lot of, I see where it's going to be, but I don't see what it looks like. There's just a photograph of it, of a rendering? There's no,
It has dimensions on it.
I don't think that works. Don't we need an actual building? There's a photograph with dimensions, that's not...
No, you need specific
You need the
dimensions. You
plan.
need heights
I
and
don't know
widths
if
and
this poor
spacing
woman-
between the pickets and the dimension of the
Yeah.
pickets.
Well, they put the dimensions on the rendering, but that's not good enough. We need a building, an actual schema.
It doesn't appear to be good enough, given everything else is lacking.
No, we have everything now.
Well,
This is what we have. It has some markings on it, but,
We show this to them.
so there,
It has height, has dimension, has spacing in the caps.
yeah,
basically.
that should be sufficient.
that's okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. You wouldn't get much more than that on an
No, you're right.
actual rendering.
It's actually not bad. 6 by 6 inch posts, space between, so it definitely has.
No, I've seen it.
There you go.
Jeff, do you want to, did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it as well.
Okay, so,
It doesn't give a percentage
well, we
transparency here.
can, honestly, I can,
Can you derive that from the
Can you hold that up?
specifications?
Yes, it says 5 inches.
Pick one.
thank you. So that's what it looks like. That's pretty good. Well,
For the benefit of the public, it's 7 feet tall at its highest point. It's on posts that are 6 feet, 6 inches tall at the sides.
I think it says 6 feet tall.
No, it's
7
7
feet tall in the middle.
Oh, it's on the, okay.
And it's 6 inches off the ground, so the top of the gate will be 7.5 feet above the pavement.
Made out of composite PVC. It has the transparency, I can tell by eyeballing it.
Is it off the ground?
It is.
Well, if it snows, you know, hey, you need a little clearance. So I don't have a, does anyone
Objection.
have anything to say about this gate? Do I have a motion to approve the gate?
I make a motion that we approve the gates for Evelyn Economopoulos.
Mopus,
Economopoulos.
Economopoulos.
Who else? I
On
think there's an
Flying
element
Point
in there.
Road.
Second motion.
Rob?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Susan, aye.
Aye.
Curtis, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. It's approved. Great.
There are no historic deeds today.
There are no, great. Next, in public hearings,
Next on the agenda is Christopher and Jean Lynch at Roscoe Drive, but that's awaiting referral back from the Board of Appeals.
Correct.
So the next would be Lisa Bassett, 20 Pelletreau Street.
Good evening.
the these are the new, are these new ones?
I'm passing around some handheld sets for you.
Are the new plans?
Yes.
So sh-
And so she, as I had sort of, Robert Fischetti, Ferdinand Fischetti, 320 Hampton Road, Southampton, for the applicant. When we, just before we adjourned last time, it seemed to be the consensus of the board that if we had made the dormer smaller, that
Sure, those plans are on the side.
yeah, that we'd be okay with everything. So if you turn to pages 6B, 7B, and 8B, those are where you can see the changes, the rear elevation and the two side elevations. As you can see, especially on 8B, where we've now provided for the pullback before the beginning of the wall of the second story.
Yeah, it's curiously lacking in there are, what are the dimensions?
The dimensions are on the front elevate, or the rear elevation on 6B. The size of the windows were reduced. The height of the dormer was reduced, as well as the sides were brought in further.
You've brought the dormer in how far from the edge of the roof? Sorry, it's even with my magic glasses, I'm having trouble.
No, that's okay.
And I don't see particularly that dimension. Do you?
It's like about 2 feet, but I don't see that dimension.
I
Might be
haven't,
on if you look at the third floor plan. Yes.
Mm-hmm. 2 feet.
On either side, 2 feet?
Yes, and then you see there's the distance. Sorry, it's just very small. They have the distance to the window, 1 foot and 4 inches and change between the windows. And the windows were reduced in size, as was the height of the dormer. Now it's 5'8" off of the.
How much were the windows reduced in size? Do you know?
I don't have the comparison. I did not receive these plans until just recently. I have the other plans. We can look back if you like.
Oh, you've got the same thing down.
This just got stamped now.
So are these the same as the plans that were in the building department?
Yes, those were submitted. My client submitted them. I believe she submitted them.
Thursday?
Yeah, end of last week sometime.
Curtis?
I see the site plan, so I want to see the rear elevation, because that's the one, the rear elevation is the one supposed to be
Yes.
impacted. The one that's actually most, if you want to say, undesirable, showing a maze of windows. So the question is always...
We reduced the number of windows.
Understand,
Yeah.
but it's still there, it still exists.
And that's in this package on 6B.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like a site plan?
So you're adding the dormers to the roof just to add more living space into the top floor.
Qualifies as a half-story, yes.
Half story, understood. In doing so, you try to do the best you could in softening what the impact is going to be overall, even though there's a very
Yes.
long, lengthy shed dormer coming off the rear showing forward.
Yes, they've constricted it as much as possible to still make it, walkable inside and keep the ceiling at a reasonable height.
I think because of the limitations of what you're capable of trying to do, there's nothing more you can do other than that, unless you're looking to shift the dormers in a manner that's less invasive, but I don't see that happening.
No, I think this is really the sort of the bare minimum that they can.
I actually find it to be, I have issues with this, from the back and the side. You can see the back and the side, and to me, it's very top-heavy. I realize they want more space, but it just seems like they took a house and put something really too big up there.
Well, they don't have any availability to add more living space,
That's
whether
true.
expanding on the either north, south, east, or west. So the only where they can add additional living space or additional area is to go up. And how far underneath the pyramid are you currently?
I don't know offhand. I don't believe they have much of any room at all on this side. And then I think I don't know if they have the measurements on here, but I don't think they would even be able to put a second story.
Second story in there. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
you
very
have
close.
you're
It's
really
very close,
restricted
yeah.
based on
Yeah.
lot configuration as well as pre-existing. So if we were going with a prime envelope home, knocking it down, doing something new, it would be a little different, but what we have is what we have. So based on the constraints, it's kind of difficult for us to look at any other way of adding what they're looking to do as of right, but having the least amount of impact. I think they've done the best they could.
Rob?
I generally agree with Curtis. I do have one just factual question. I think I'd seen the version of the plans that were in the file last week had this roof on the shed dormer.
There was one inconsistency in the side elevations,
It
and
projected out
I
another
had them.
foot or so.
Yeah, I had them correct. It was just an
So
error.
this is correct, where the shed dormer roof now comes basically to the same line, essentially the same line as the first two floors of the house.
No. There's.
Just the roof. The roof.
Oh, just the roof. Yes, not the wall, just the roof.
Plans that were in here before showed the roof line extending about a foot out beyond.
Yes, no, that was incorrect.
Okay. I would just echo Curtis. I appreciate the willingness of your client to make this look more like a traditional shed dormer. And I share Susan's concern that it's top-heavy, but I think this will now look like a shed dormer, perhaps a slightly heavy one, but
Right.
one that I think looks and feels like a shed dormer. So I generally appreciate the work that's been done and the changes that were made.
And in roofing, are there any metal?
No metal at all. The current roof on top is slate. They're keeping that, and then this is going to be cedar shingle, the lower edition.
Jeff?
I appreciate the changes that they made, and like Curtis and Rob, I'm in agreement that they're compatible and they're maintaining a cute house and expanding it in the best way possible.
Do you have anything more to
No.
add, Curtis? Does anyone have anything more to add?
No, I thank
Christina?
you for working with the plans and for making the changes that we wanted to see. I think, as Curtis said, you've done the best that you can with this.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
And can I just ask, let's say the dormer was half the size that you have there, and just couldn't have one part of this, I know, like roofy place, bedroom, is that what this is, with a bathroom, right, to the,
Yeah, I think their floor area up there is pretty minuscule as it is. I think to cut this in half would really start to take away any usefulness of it.
okay.
You're still going to feel confined. It's still going to be heavy.
It's going to be confined as is, yeah.
So
Right.
reducing it any more than what it is now is just going to make it really feel claustrophobic.
Well, except my argument is someone actually did live there before, and I don't know if they were claustrophobic, but someone did live there before, and probably more than one family lived there before. So, all right, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the application of Lisa Bass on Pillar Choice Street.
I second the motion.
Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, nay. Curtis?
Aye.
Aye.
Jeff? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Application. Okay, so where is the one that was stamped in the file?
Here's-
That needs to be
Have a good night, thank you.
this tomorrow. The big plans aren't stamped. This one's stamped. No, I don't have a stamp, so I have to come tomorrow.
Stamps right there.
Oh. Next is Long Island Residential, Inc., 85 Pelham Street. Construct two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage. We have the new plans there. Or do they have more plant, wait, before we get 3,000 pieces?
Good evening.
I don't think, I think we need the plans. Do you have plans for us?
I do, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Anthony Porco, P-O-R-C-O.
Charles Kuhn, architect.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Bregman and Farrell Fritz. I'm counsel to them. I probably won't say anything, but it's my name in case I do.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Fine. 6?
Yeah. If you got 6, we'll take it. And do the last one, please?
Yes. The larger set on the table?
Yeah, if you have larger ones to sit down at the table, that'd be great. Facing this way if you show the two.
Last time we were here, the garage obviously was the biggest issue. And so what we've done, we pulled the garage back 5.5 feet from where we originally had it. Also, I pulled the foyer out 1.5 feet. So basically what that did, it aligned more the front foyer and portico with the garage. So the garage obviously is now not the main element that pushes forward. The other thing we did on the site, we pushed the house to your left on the site.
North, south, east, and west.
I'm sorry?
You have to give us direction, not left.
Oh,
So give us
that
direction.
would be the north. We pushed the house to the north, and we pushed the driveway, the curb cut, to the south. And what that gave us the ability to do is landscape directly in front of the garage to block as best as possible any view of the garage doors from the street.
No. Just logically, how can you put cars in and out if there's landscaping in front of the garage door?
I'm sorry?
How would cars be able to go in and out?
Well, if you look at the landscape plan, the cars would enter the driveway, turn to the left,
Yes,
and then there's a courtyard, basically a courtyard in front of the garage doors and the front door.
If I may, the difference is that in the prior design, the curb cut was right in front of the garage, so it was straight into the garage, right? Now, the curb cut is all the way over here, so cars come here around into the garage. Therefore, when you drive by, you don't see the garage. It's the landscaping blocks the view of the garage. That's the difference.
And I might add, we created a courtyard here, so when you pulled your car in here, in order to get out, you would pull into the courtyard, back into the courtyard, and then go out. This is a courtyard area. I might add also that this house, I don't know if you looked at the yard, but it's heavily planted with privets on all three sides. They're about 8 feet. The plan shows on both sides, left and right. And the front is about 6.5, 7 feet. And those all are going to remain as well. So between that and the heavy cryptomerians we put over here, which are 10 to 12 feet, and some more planting here in the front, it should camouflage that garage very well.
If I may, again, you can see it on the model. Again, oops.
The model.
Sorry. Sorry.
They fall down those trees.
You can see that the entrance is here, so when you drive by, you don't see into the garage, as opposed to where it was before, where the driveway was straight in from the street.
The other thing we also did, if I may, we added a shed roof on top of it. We had 3 windows here initially. We got rid of one of the windows, so it's not the main focal point. Balances out with the other cables. We put a shed roof on here to soften up this gable to match the lower gable.
And the second floor over the garage is pushed back, so it's not at the same level as the garage door. So you don't have that 2-story wall that's sort of breaks up that gable end.
If I may again, I think the model makes it clearer. Instead of having one of the concerns, as I understood it, I wasn't here last time, because it was told to me, was that this wall was kind of a massive flat wall. Now it's broken up, so it's softened up.
I would say that the major concern was that the double garage faces the street. And in talking with people in the building department, there is not such a great constraint that you could not shift the house and get either a side-facing garage or in the back. And I personally still feel that the garage is the prominent feature. I appreciate the landscaping plan, but I feel there could be a better solution to the architecture of this house. Anyone else have anything to say?
Just
Jeff?
I'm sorry.
Okay. It's along the same lines. I mean, the house is essentially the same as you presented before. And when you have to use in your presentation, we're using landscape to camouflage something. We're not in the business, if you will, and we're not in business at all. You guys are, and I know that's a primary concern of yours. But ours is to provide for the community the best possible design for a particular location on that street. That street, as most houses in the village, have detached garages or side-facing garages. Your house, as much as you want to camouflage it, is nonetheless a forward-facing garage. And as such, and given what Susan was saying, because we were all in the building department, there are ample opportunities for you to build either a detached garage, if you so choose, or a side-facing garage. You have latitude to move the house north and south. You have latitude to move the pool. You have latitude to move the direction of the pool, all of which would accommodate a detached garage, which would be far more compatible with that neighborhood as most of the houses in Southampton. You pointed up a few houses that have single-car garages on that street. There's 1,600-foot ranch houses. If you want to build that, that's fine. I know you don't want to do that, so I don't mean to insult you by suggesting you should. But if you look around the village, there are very few. Yes, and the examples, Anthony, and the examples you provided, there was none that was less than about a half a mile away as the crow flies, and about 6/10 to 8/10 of a mile driving. So, Anthony, I'm speaking for a second. So, it's the neighborhood in a village like Southampton. It's not defined by getting in a car and driving over half a mile and saying, that's the neighborhood. It's the street. It's the neighbors. When we ask people to give us a streetscape, we don't go a half a mile away. We go to the houses on either side. So what I'm saying is, so long as that has a forward-facing two-car garage, it's not going to get my vote, especially when you have opportunities to do otherwise, and I'm sure you'll have a very marketable house, although that's not our business or concern, but I'm sure you would have a very marketable house with a detached garage.
I've shown you many houses.
You had many.
We had two-car garage, which were built in the last 2 years.
A half a dozen houses, a half a mile away and more, and 2 miles away doesn't count as
Half a
many
mile?
in the village. Yeah.
You understand that Pelham Street is an undeveloped street.
Is an undeveloped?
Undeveloped street. You can't count any new houses on that street other than 1 or 2 past that stop sign coming down
Undeveloped.
towards the water tower.
But by the your definition of development is different than mine. A house, you're talking about newly development changing the neighborhood, which is exactly the issue we're contending with. It's undeveloped. You may feel it's underdeveloped, but that's not our business. Our business is to provide harmony to a community. So if it doesn't meet your definition of development, I apologize, but perhaps you should come back with a different design.
So do I understand then that the architecture is fine?
No, I'm not saying no. No, the architecture is not fine.
Because?
Because it has a two-car garage as opposed to a detached garage. If you built...
That's what I was saying, other than the two-car garage.
But no, I know...
You can't box
Don't
that.
conflate my words, please.
No, I'm not trying
Yes,
to
you
box
were.
you in.
Yes, you
I'm
were.
trying to
You were
decide
trying to
what the
say that
basic-
I was approving the architecture. I'm not. The architecture is not acceptable to me and other members of the board. Part of the reason is because it has a two-door, single garage door garage, which is a prominent part of the house, and it's a prominent part of the architecture. So therefore, the architecture is not acceptable.
I understand what you're saying.
Then
Is the design of the house, if
No.
it was...
No, we can't separate out.
Design
We're
and
not going to
architecture
give
are
you
one
a
and the same.
Carte blanche on...
No, I'm not asking for carte blanche. I'm asking for the
Well,
basis
we're
for
not
your
going to give you
decision.
what you're asking for
If the
because
basis
it's...
for your decision is that it's a two-car garage, which
No,
is what you're...
I said the architecture.
front-facing
You're trying to parse my words and conflate them into an argument that you can use, and if you choose to do that, fine, do that in an Article 78 sometime down the road. More power to you. But you're not going to get me to say that that is a harmonious design to that neighborhood or is one that is acceptable to me. So please don't reverse
All
my
I'm trying
language.
to do is...
I know
it's
exactly
not-
what you're trying to do.
And you do.
Thank you.
Right?
So that's enough said.
All right?
Okay.
But, no, I want to ask another question.
Yes.
You said it's not harmonious to the neighborhood?
Yes.
Because it's bigger than the other houses? Or what other reasons?
I'm saying it is not compatible in my judgment, and that is simply all that I have to say.
I'd be happy to say that as it is now, it is still the two-car garage is the prominent feature on the facade of the street-facing facade of this house, and I find that unacceptable. We've made that clear in the previous meetings, that for the most part, I believe the board does not favor a front-facing garage. I don't know how else to tell you, sir. Anyone else, Curtis?
Very happy that you try to figure alternative ways of either masking or taking advantage of trying to create some type of barrier for streetscape purposes, and you identify that the doors were an issue to begin with, so how do you do it? You tried to mask it, putting it behind layers of vegetation or screening. A couple of things I don't know and I didn't see on the landscape plan is I see height, I don't see depth. So how deep of the privet will there be for the front?
These are 10 to 12s.
Okay,
These are about 7-8 feet in diameter.
7-8 feet.
And they grow very rapidly, very fast. These can grow up to 20, 30 feet within the 10-year time span. And I'd like to address something else.
I'm just want to finish.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So just in that portion, there's going to be this heavily dense,
Yeah, but the rest of the
but the
property
rest of the property
has
is going
privets, has 8-foot privets along sides.
that's going to match the height of this dense.
No,
Because what I'm
no.
seeing here is this.
Yeah, well, the privets are lower than that.
Okay. So what I'm going to see is
It's like a double screen.
just in front of the garage will be the heavily dense screening.
Right.
In front of the house, not that much.
6 to 8 feet privets.
So do you see the slope of the screening? It just doesn't fit?
Well, we could certainly supplement, and so there is not an off balance of high and low.
It's out of balance.
That's certainly.
You can agree with that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I've done this kind of planting in the village before.
Just asking so that.
Yeah, I could do that. But I just want to point something out that you discussed earlier. If you look at this, this is the survey, and this is the plot plan. What happens when you bring a driveway back here in order to get to a two-car garage, it diminishes your backyard. And this lot is not that wide.
What do you mean by it diminishes the backyard?
Well, a driveway would take away from the lawn area.
So it's
Play
it's
area.
entertainment area.
And the garage, obviously.
Well, some
definitely.
people have, as an alternative, created a pool house / garage just to adhere to at least providing the garage and still having the entertainment area. Actually brings a little more charm to the backyard where you could have a pool house / resting area, shower, pergola.
What we would
Could
do-
create a little bit more of a, I guess, more desirable back area rather than so on. I'm just making a suggestion, not necessarily that's what you have to follow. But I don't think it detracts. You just have to find a way and be creative in finding a way to make it blend or fit.
Well, it does diminish the backyard. Anytime you put a two-car garage in the back, it diminishes the yard is not, it's not an acre.
Okay.
Or even a half an acre. It's a third of an
Well,
acre.
that's why a lot of people are arguing over the garage. And you can see where the challenge is right now for us, for this board at least, is that you came up with a plan, and the plan was to throw a bunch of trees in front of it, but not really bringing into context what that would look like as a whole. You have some trees that are going to be higher than just the house. It just looks like you put a wall up to block what's behind. And
I feel
that's what
we
you're
can-
doing, but,
We can certainly address that.
okay.
I have a question. Was there any consideration given to having the garage entrance on the south side here? Coming in and
The lot
entering?
is not wide enough. You need a minimum of 35 to 40 feet.
But you won't, okay, so I just did a scale that says that this distance from the garage to the curb here is essentially the exact distance from this side of the garage over to this privet, not even to the lot line.
Because the
So why do you have
lot
enough?
is deeper this way. We have more room.
But you don't,
Front
you
to
have the
back.
same room on the side here as you do in the front here, per the drawing you just given.
Well, let me answer that question. Well, you're not going to go all the way back and then try to turn around. That's what this courtyard is here for. You're going to come out of your garage, and as soon as your nose clears the garage, you're going to cut your wheel and go into the courtyard. So this is a 60, 70-foot swing here.
Okay.
Other
But you could
than
have a
35.
you could have a courtyard back
Oh,
here that
court-
someone could back into if they were coming out of a garage on the side.
But it's not deep enough to do that. See,
But
this is,
sir, it's the same depth here as you have here, and you're telling us this works. You're implying this works. So why is this not deep enough that this is?
because your
if it's the
car
same
is coming
dimension?
this way, and then you're turning into the courtyard. And all you have to do is get your nose to a certain point,
Yeah.
and then out.
But you have this, I'm saying, you have the same depth from the garage to the curb that you're proposing there as you do from the side of the garage to the privet, not even to the lot line. So if it works in one, doesn't it have, and tell me what I'm missing here, doesn't it have to work in the other?
On this particular model, when you're turning here, you're already out to a point where all you have to do is turn your rear end into the courtyard,
Right? Why wouldn't that work in the same dimension? on
because
that
you
side?
have nowhere to turn here.
All right, so here's my other concern. You came last time and you gave us, I think, 10 comparables, right, of additional properties that had some of the features. You thought they were good comparables. I went and saw all 10 of the comparables. I went and visited them. And I made a list of some of the concerns that I'd heard on the board here. I think there were 8 of them. 5 had to do with the garage. It's attached, it's 2 cars, it's proud of the house, it's part of a 2-story form, and it's the main form on the house. And then there were 3 others: metal roof, non-masonry chimney, asphalt roof, non-masonry chimney, and there was one other that I don't have listed here. Yours was the only house that had all of them. It's the only one. Of the comparables that you gave us, it's the only house that had all of those elements that I hear concerns about in terms of compatibility with the neighborhood. There were 2 of them that I think had 5 of those 8 elements. Most of them had 2 or 3 of those elements. If it were random chance, according to those percentages, the chance that you'd end up with all those elements on a house is less than 1%. So I don't think it's just the garage. And I have concerns about more than just the garage. I don't think this is a compatible house for that neighborhood. I don't think it's even compatible with the comparables you showed us. So that's what I have to say.
I wasn't picking out elements. There's a lot of houses there that have the same exact elements, but they don't have the car garage in front. That's why I'm using as my...
Okay, I'm just going by the 10 comparables you gave us that I think were intended to say this is okay. And even in the 10 that you chose, yours is an outlier. I'll show you the
I was just
analysis.
pointing out the garage. I wasn't pointing out the materials
Okay.
that were used to construct it. I can go back if you want and pick out probably 20 that have the same exact materials here, but the garage is
We
somewhere
need to
else.
talk about the house in the neighborhood in which it will sit, not the rest of Southampton. I would say that the tear sheets you gave, many of them did not apply at all to your specific situation, nor were they nearby, so I just assume concentrate on your plan. And from what I see, the gable and the garage is still the prominent feature, which somehow I don't feel like I can get across to you that I just cannot say yes to a house that presents the garage forward and then on top of it all has it as the most prominent feature in the front of the house. So you would not have my vote. Is there anyone else who has? Christina?
No, I agree. I mean, the 2-car front-facing garage is so prominent, it's not appropriate. I couldn't vote for it.
So I don't think you have the votes. I don't know where you want to go from here. Does anyone have anything else to say?
No. Public comment?
Public comment? Is there any public comment? Please step forward to the microphone and state your name. Thank you. Rob.
My name's Rainer Grieven. I know very little about architecture, but I'm curious about the white tower, which seems to be on the north side of the house. Is that a chimney? Is that a silo? Or, what is that? A chimney?
And what's that made out of?
Stucco.
Uh-huh.
It's just a stucco chimney.
A stucco chimney.
Could be shingle.
No, we can't have shingled chimneys. I don't even think we should have stucco chimneys, but that's okay.
Even if you use,
Yeah, we favor brick chimneys. If you look around, I don't think you'll see a lot of examples of the other two materials.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Oh.
board, okay.
One more comment.
Sammy,
Your address, just Southampton Village?
Southampton resident. A few years ago, sitting on the planning commission, we did look at cases like this, and in order to promote detached garages, we passed a law where detached garages in the smaller zones as such could sit only 5 feet away from the property line and not the regular setback, side yard setback. So I don't know if that helps you or not, but that might help.
Thank you. So, we don't have, would you want to adjourn, or do you want to, if we take a vote, it's going to go down?
Yeah, we'll adjourn.
Okay. Motion. Is there any more public comment before we do this? Motion to
I make a motion
adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Long Island Residential, Inc. on Pelham Street by the applicant's request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Curtis seconds. Rob?
Aye.
Christina? Aye. Susan? Aye. Curtis? Aye. Jeff? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And it was an incomplete landscaping plan. Is this your job, lady? Okay. Huh? Whoa. Next application. Emily McCarthy, 63 Hunting Street, construct two-story single-family dwelling with detached garage and pergola. There were new plans put in the file on, I went to the building department on Friday morning and they were not there.
We went Friday.
Probably midday.
Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is that if there are people who are in the audience, who are the public, who want to respond and have not had a chance to look at these plans, we will have to continue this until the next meeting. I don't know if that will happen, but there was not really enough time necessary for people to see these plans, and that would have included me, because I don't really feel I have to show up the day of the meeting. That's really, the public needs to see the plans. And so did board members.
We didn't know there was a deadline, but we did.
This is Dave Harvey, D&D Harvey Architects, speaking for the client. We had full drawings submitted last month for last meeting, and you had adjourned the meeting due to a comment that our historic paperwork was not correct. We've since learned that our historic paperwork is correct. We did have our meeting last
No,
time.
I asked that they check to make sure that we were not making an error.
We did have a meeting last time, and we
Yes.
had our public notice, and we had people in the audience ready to comment. So the minor changes that we're proposing today are in response to your comment.
That's fine, but the public has a right to see the plans because it may impact their property or for whatever reason. Were these renderings in the file today?
Those renderings are the same as the renderings that were in the file. They're
I
just
couldn't
taken.
find them in the file.
They're just taken from the street, which I think at the last time they asked to step back a little bit and maybe view it from the corner.
So,
of the
yes or no, these renderings are not the same as the ones in the file?
No, these are new.
It's the
Okay,
same.
thank you.
Well,
Just
no,
got-
excuse me. It's the same rendering viewed from further down the street. In other words, it's a three-dimensional model that
Yes, sir, but,
exists.
sir, okay, fine. Say whatever you want, it's fine.
But for what it's worth, I didn't see renderings in
I
the
came in
file
today again.
before. But, be that as it may, Susan's point is, at the board willing to review the file now, and her concern, and if there are any public concerns, that they'll need to have the opportunity to see this. Whether that's an issue at the end of this discussion or not,
We don't know.
we don't know. So continue on. We're not adversarial here, all right? So let's
For what it's worth, it may be a housekeeping issue in the building department. I don't think these renderings or anything like them has been part of the file that any of us has reviewed. I've not
There
seen.
was a rendering, and then when I went today, I couldn't find it from the previous, so I
It's the
don't
first
know
time
where
I've
it
seen,
went.
but it's fine. It's fine, it's helpful.
We have them
So
now,
thank you.
let's just proceed. Go ahead.
Here, these two renderings, which are also part of your file. These two renderings were,
Yes, I see.
it's the same building, but we now have made some of the modifications that you've requested. So we've just resubmitted the rendering updated according to your request. Okay, so we are proposing at 63 Hunting Street a new residence. There are two existing residences on the property now. They're small stucco single-story buildings, which are going to be removed. The new residence satisfies all of the floor area ratios, size. It's actually smaller than what we're allowed to do. It's a small colonial detailed structure. We've broken down the mass into three smaller buildings with a central flat roof connector. The garage proposed, a single-story, one-car garage, is 325 square feet, where we're allowed to have 520, so we've kept that as small as we can for a single car. There's extensive hedges around the property now, which are going to remain. There's also, large street trees, which are all going to remain. The existing driveway cuts will remain.
Could you highlight just what's changed?
Yep. So to address what you guys had mentioned last time, the brick has been changed to a red brick. It's called a Dartmouth tumbled historic brick. The chimney was lowered by 3 feet. It's as low as we can go now to actually make it draw correctly, the distance off the roof. The metal roofs have been removed. It's now a shingle roof. There was a roof terrace on the back, which has been removed, or I should say reduced to a small balcony and a shed roof.
For the dimensions of that roof, of that deck?
Yes, so the dimensions now, so the balcony was reduced to, it's 7 feet by 16 feet. It used to be, so that's roughly 120 square feet. It used to be 350 square feet.
And the chimneys are different heights, but I'm assuming that's because of the one on the...
Yeah, so the one on the
side is just an outside...
Correct. The one on the north side, northwest side, which faces the lot next door that is unoccupied.
Okay.
That was shortened to allow for just that rooftop balcony to have a small fireplace. And the fireplace, the chimney on the west side, which is closest to Hunting Street, was lowered by 3 feet to get it. It's below the ridge line now.
And the framing around the connectors, I'm going to call them connectors, is that metal or is it going to be painted?
Okay, so originally it was an aluminum and glass system. It's now been switched to just traditional picture windows.
Okay.
It's got with a very minimal white trim at the top, flat roof between the three structures that you see.
So it's a frame window. The framing itself is white.
White wood.
White wood. And that matches all of the white trim around the existing house.
So, Dean, so I'm a little...
And the renderings don't show that.
I'm sorry.
Here, all of the surroundings are going to be white trim to match all the white.
On the lower section, the lower you'll see
So the schematic is correct, this is not?
Yes,
Yeah,
because
the
your
rendering-
comment was the aluminum and glass system was a little bit too modern and it was kind of designed as a Mondrian modernist
I think
section.
it's a very quirky but unique looking house. I actually really think it's cute.
Was there a second balcony previously, or am I misremembering that? No.
There was only one, it
Just
was,
the
it was
one-
actually a
Big
roof
roof
deck,
deck.
which we eliminated it and just made it a small
And there
deck.
wasn't access from the south side of that deck into a guest room. It was just
No,
off the
it's-
master
It's
bedroom.
literally just for 2 seats off the master bedroom.
Yeah, right now it's just here, outside of the master.
So Julia,
And it's somewhat masked by a chimney, so it's kind of private. tucked in there.
And materials are now shingle roof?
It's a wood shingle roof.
And this oiled or something?
Well, the wood shingle roof would just be left natural.
Yeah, no,
Lead-coated copper gutters.
Yeah.
The siding is a flush cedar shiplap with bleaching oil.
Oh,
So it'll
bleaching, I
be,
knew there was something. So it's a
gonna be
gray?
gray.
It'll be light
Gray.
gray. We also changed the elevation on the which way is north on this guy? Okay, on the north elevation, there were some comments that it had a little bit of a postmodern feel to it originally. We've eliminated that large single window marking the gable and repeated the 3 smaller traditional windows that are on the other gable. So we
So the
think the
color
2 gables.
renderings do not reflect.
these are not reflected at all. So
So it's new drawings and the old, trying to get a new rendering to you, it just didn't finish in time. So the drawings
always
are all
difficult
updated.
handing in stuff that doesn't fit.
Well, it was to try to show the material changes.
Okay, don't look at it. Sorry.
It's pretty hard asking an architectural review board not to look at it.
Don't look at the picture.
Well, it's 90%. I will agree.
Close.
And the renderer did get a scathing call, so. I mean, I think the size of the house, the buildings themselves are
Now,
modest.
are the 2 forms the same height?
Yes, all the forms, I think one is 4 inches
One-
taller just simply because it's 20 feet wide, and the other form is 18 inches wide, 18 feet wide. So same pitch, same details.
So the quote
Same height
tower
as the
turned
top
into a,
The tower is the
right, I know, but it was
Peak.
much, it had a,
Was it taller before? It's not. No, it's the same height.
28 feet 7 inches is the maximum.
It was just that the pyramidal roof was made to make it look more like a tower-type form to separate it visually from the, I think.
and the chimneys are brick now, right? The brick you're showing us?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the brick.
Are the chimneys, I don't see dimension, massive, or they just look massive?
No, the whole building's only 20, as I said, 28 feet tall, and the chimneys now do not
How about the
extend
width
beyond
of
the
the
ridges.
chimneys? Are
So
the width of the chimneys wider than usual?
they're 6 feet wide, so you
So
can
in
get a
one elevation,
4-foot
they look,
firebox.
30 inches by 6 feet.
okay.
Yep. I think it's a little deceptive. The whole project's very small, but so it's...
Right, well, we've been
so the
over there,
chimney
we
was-
get it. Board members, have anything to say?
I'll just ask one question. First of all, I appreciate the changes that you've made. I think they're very responsive to the concerns that the board had. And I see that I'm not going to look at the photographs, I'm going to look at the elevation for the connector in particular. This window still has sort of the Mondrian look a little bit, but the divisions, is this an aluminum glass window system?
That is still currently an aluminum glass system similar to the first floor.
Yeah.
It's on the private side.
It sort of faces back into the building.
Into its own courtyard, yeah.
I just want to know for clarity's sake. I mean, I appreciate that the chimneys are shorter. I appreciate the change of the roof material, and making the connector look a little more transitional than modern, in my opinion, is an improvement. And so I appreciate the change.
Could you show me what you're referring to in the Mondrian, like window?
Sure.
What page are you on? Oh, well, that's
A5.
A5, I'm on A5.
A5, and it's the lower drawing, the upper right, the second floor right, between the two chimneys. There's a sort of asymmetrical division of the windows.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what the divider, the
Right,
connector
the
used to
old-
have
Used to
that
be,
feel.
yeah. It was a modern element. Now it's just a large picture.
But I think this will not be well seen, certainly from the public rights of way, if at all, because it's behind the house. That's why I said it sort of faces back into the house.
And on A5, the deck, or what is this? What's this? What is is that metal?
We do have one
Upstairs.
on the...
That's a metal roof?
Yes, but it's between the balcony and the other extension of the house, and it's due to the fact it's a very shallow pitch. So we removed the flat roof deck, and we're able to get a very shallow pitch roof in, and the material there would be lead-coated, standing seam lead-coated copper due to its pitch.
You can see the pitch on the lower, it shows through on the lower one. Do you see the line of the roof there? It's cutting through the...
And again, that's on the most inward, inside corner.
I'm glad it's on the inward.
So,
Well, I think you've certainly listened to us.
Yeah, seeing
I would have to say that.
Very responsive to our concerns, and I appreciate the changes that you made.
sorry they all didn't make it to the renderings, but with a group of renderings, you get a pretty good idea.
As long as the
Okay.
plans are correct, that's what gets signed.
Jeff?
Right, so yes, you did address several of the concerns I had mentioned the last time. At the same time, particularly in regards to the material, just as a footnote, Dean, you described the house as being small and modest, and while it's true that under the current code, and I'm not going down that path, but just to put things into perspective, under the current code, you're a few hundred feet less than is permissible.
Correct.
Under the code that would go into effect at the end of the end of this month, you're actually 5% above. It's not a big difference. It's about 175 feet. So anyway, just modest and small are relative, and in fact relative to the time. So the mood of the community is for a house that's actually a bit smaller than this. But be that as it may, you filed when you did. You have the right to submit the house under these plans. And yes, you're technically correct that it falls under those maximum guidelines. That's just an aside. I remain concerned that the design is a considerable departure from the houses on that street, which are largely traditional. In fact, almost exclusively traditional, with the exception of perhaps the one to the west beyond the vacant property, which is more of a Florida-style mansard roof type house. Okay, but beyond that, they're all pretty traditional, what we would call Southampton houses, and this is a stark departure to that. And as such, the streetscape is particularly important to me. And so I'm hard-pressed to approve this plan with a rendering that does not reflect it, because what I would prefer to see, although I'm not necessarily demanding it unless the other board members feel it's necessary, would be a streetscape showing this house, this design, as it's finished against the other houses along the street. Personally, I don't need that because I'm rather familiar with the street, but if the other board members felt that that was necessary, then we could ask them to do that, but it's a...
Other board members? I'm familiar with the street.
I'm familiar with this.
Okay.
Curtis is familiar with the street.
So my point is that I could not vote positively on this without seeing an accurate color rendering, and I do need more time to consider it. Because I'm particularly concerned with the ground to rooftop, firstly, or at least top of the second floor, glass connector. I will tell you, Gene, before you speak, because sometimes it's better to listen than speak, is that I was totally against it in your first visit. You're warming me up a bit to it. So if you can accommodate me by providing an accurate 3D rendering, and that I can drive the street and look at that in my hand against the other houses, it may help your case. I'm still concerned that the overall design is a stark departure. The material changes are an improvement, but I'm not sure that the gray, it's gray. Right?
Yes, there's actually, I included a photo.
No, it's in here.
Because with the exception of, again, the house I mentioned.
So it's flush, but it is, it'll be a silver gray oil, bleached oil.
Which will be very different than all the shingle cedar houses on that street, with the one exception that I mentioned, the house that's a sort of yellowish beige stucco. That's a lot. I think that's like 60, would be 50-something.
Right.
But again, all the houses are shingle. So I think between the contemporary design, the gray shingles, and the very contemporary glass connector, that it's going to accentuate the difference and potentially disrupt the harmony of the neighborhood.
Curtis, you're good with this? No, not with his. You're happy? Do you have anything to say?
He's happy. He's happy.
You said you like the house.
I like the house. I think the house will be a good interpretation in the community. I don't think it in any way, in any form, will create any disharmony in its existence. It's quasi-contemporary, but it's not really, especially now that they're taken away from the connector and made it more, and I'm going to say more residential than it would be like a greenhouse effect. I think you did a great job in bringing that down and still being able to put a little personality into the application. So I'm fine with it moving forward.
Rob? I personally, I actually feel I need more time too. I'm just, and I actually need to know that the rendering is the same as the plans. There's a lot of paper around here that I feel like I don't really need to sort through this. It's too much of a...
Part of the problem is we don't render it. We don't.
I understand that, but part of the problem is that we need to make an informed decision. And for me, at least, I'm having a problem with that.
That's fine. We can work on the rendering if that's... the rendering from Pier Pond is actually accurate.
Well, these aren't marked, are they?
Okay, so we
That's
can...
another problem, but, you know.
Your mistake is adding that in. You should just kept the rendering.
Well, except the previous, you weren't, when they first presented it was...
So the front page, you gave us 2 pages. This front page is correct.
Correct.
And this one is not correct because the fenestration on the connector is incorrect.
Yes.
So the drawing shows the updated.
So there's, yes, I'm having trouble seeing, so there's, I can't see.
I think if you do it in conjunction with the
Well, I know, but I just...
elevation.
It makes sense.
Can you tell what's on there?
Rob, is this still worth laying over to another meeting?
Is it?
I don't feel I need to. I feel like I could vote on it. I hear Jeff's concerns, and I hear your concerns, Susan, as well. I think glass connectors generally are risky. There are a few of them in the village, and at least two that I can tell you privately, and prefer not to say in public here, but two that I don't think work, and I think they are a detriment to their neighborhoods. But I think they can work. I think there's a chance this one can work. And I'm not, Jeff, to your comment, the compatibility with the neighborhood, I think we're also charged with trying to ensure that there's not an excess of uniformity. I think that's in the code somewhere for us. And this, to me, falls under that as well. Is it the right design to change some of that more or less uniformity in the neighborhood? I don't know, but I don't object to it. So I guess what I'd say is if other members feel they really need to look at another rendering and consider this for more time, I respect that. I wouldn't want to force a vote. If you asked me to vote now, I would probably vote to approve the application.
Christina.
I'd be comfortable voting no.
It's 3-2, Jeff.
Well, I'm going to vote no, so it's, I'm having a little difficulty, Rob, putting your statements together, which is a glass connector could work, and it really hasn't worked in some spots. The design, we have a rendering that's okay, maybe it could be better. So I'd put those two together, and I say, okay, you know what?
I didn't say anything about the rendering, just to be clear. The rendering to me is fine. I can see what this would look like if it had the lines it's supposed to have on it. So I didn't make a comment on the rendering.
Right.
I don't believe.
So if there's even a shred of doubt that something may or may not work, would it not behoove this board to have as much information as complete as possible? And in the fact that we're talking about a mere 2 weeks for you to do that, and a relatively minimal expense against probably, well, it's public, for on a
Actually, I don't mind
3 million.
resubmitting the new renderings because I know that they are actually underway.
That's
it
great.
just didn't make it here.
Okay.
So,
And we haven't had public comment.
It seems like you, well, we'll wait for that.
Yeah.
It seems like the board's kind of, we're about 50-50
I'm up and down.
right now.
I don't dislike your design.
If you need another image,
Okay.
I think we can put an image
So
together.
you're requesting an adjournment, is what you're saying?
Well, we have to let someone...
Can we,
Okay.
should we have some any
Yes, I'd love
comments?
some public
Yeah.
comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? Wow. That's a...
May I just, I want to respond to Jeff because I appreciate the feedback. I've seen things that we have approved on this board since I've gotten here, but also things approved by other boards that I think were properly approved by a 5-0 vote that I think are unattractive. So I don't think you ever get to certainty. I don't think you ever get to certainty on this, and I think there's always a leap of faith. And I may be biased a little bit towards being willing to let people try some new things that are nonetheless, in my opinion, compatible with the village. So I'm trying to bridge the gap in what you saw as an inconsistency there. I do think glass connectors are a risky proposition generally in a more traditional village, but I think they can work. I think this one has a chance of working and a good chance of working, so just to clarify.
I hear you.
So are you asking us to adjourn to it? There's no one stepping up. Is there anyone?
But their clients are here, I think.
The clients are here.
The clients are here, or did they want to speak?
Would you like to?
I mean, I've asked twice now.
No, it's just, I think that's fine if you guys need another image. We can clean that up.
Could we, yes, have like plans and the elevation and the rendering, it's all correct. That'd be great. So
Okay.
are you asking us to adjourn?
Sure, we'll adjourn it for updated rendering.
To our next meeting.
Thank you.
And it would be...
Is that the only comment, is just to have the rendering? Or?
Well, there have been comments, wouldn't you say?
Yes, we have.
I just, until we can really see what we're talking, I mean, I can see some of it, but not, I'm more, I just feel like I would like to see completely what you're submitting that's exact. How's that?
Yeah, I totally understand that. So,
Yeah.
but I do want to remind you
I
of a time
appreciate
when
your
you
changes.
didn't have the ability to produce a finished object
Right,
for
you did a lot of work, and I think what you did was productive. So we'll see. I think, in the end, that you'll probably feel good that you came back.
Can I just ask, I didn't hear from Christina, did you have any comments about the project?
I have any comment? I said I was comfortable with the design and in favor of it.
Okay, so we'd like to ask for a vote.
You'd like to ask for a vote? Okay. Motion, so, motion, who's going to make the motion? Not Curtis?
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve 63 Hunting Street.
As amended.
As amended.
Amended, what's been amended? I
The
don't know.
windows. Windows were amended.
The new
Do
plan.
you have the stamped copy? Who has the
Well, on
stamped
the
copy?
materials, we changed it.
Do we have any of, are any of these plans
It was a
stamped?
reduction of the...
No, I understand all that, but on the design.
Anyway. So,
There's reduction of the
No,
balcony.
received,
There's a change in the window from just...
Right, I got that. It was just more or less the rendering.
I mean, the motion is there.
Is there a second?
second.
Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan? Because I don't feel I have the information that I really need that could give me you an aye, although I was tending to it, I'm saying nay. Curtis?
Aye.
Jeff, nay. Approved.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Appreciate it.
Could I have the other stamp? Who's got the stamped plan? You do. Here, no, we need the stamp, please. Those are the two stamped. No, I'm going to come back. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good luck. Next application.
Next application is Alexis and Oliver Moses at 88 Pierpont Street.
Happening over on Pierpont and Hunting.
Hi, Jim McMullen from Fleetwood and McMullen for the applicant. We do have a couple of housekeeping. Here are the affidavits. Yeah.
The affidavits of posting and mailing.
They are correct.
Great. Thank you.
We also have sets for each board member. So this project is at 88 Pierpont Street. It's a flag lot, which you cannot see the property from any street. We've designed a traditional house, shingle style, with red cedar shingle walls and roof, white trim. The property itself is very mature with plant material. The borders, I think, are 10-foot privet on one side. We have mature 35, 40-foot trees also mixed in there. You can actually see, yeah. On this, these are all views from the property looking out towards the neighbors. The only one that isn't is the bottom one, view I. That's from Pierpont. As you can see, it's the posts and the cobblestone driveway, and you can't actually see where the house is. Elevations. In designing this, we tried to keep the neighbors' view from this house down. So we had a height limit of 35 feet that we could go. This is 29 feet to the highest point. We tried to keep the massing as low as possible as to not impede on the neighbors. We also have a pool house, which is only 12 feet high. As you can see, it's a pergola with a flat roof over the small powder room and kitchen area. do have 2 decks on the back of the house. And what we did was we took a drone, shots from 18 feet above grade, looking at the neighbors' properties, and actually directly at their houses. So as you can see from view A.
This is on G 1.03?
Yes. Aerial view A, you can see the mature evergreens as well as deciduous trees. Same with view B. And view C is the neighbor to the, I think it's west.
West, yeah.
West.
It's weird.
You can see there is a large hedge, and their house is set forward. So we are over 200 feet from them. So we won't be looking into their yard. There is a basketball court and tennis court combined in between them on their property. So that gives us a good separation. I think that's it. I think you've seen the renderings, right?
Yes, we have one. How much bigger is it than the house that's there?
The existing is 4,860 square feet, and actually, let me correct that. The existing is 6,509.
It's pretty big.
And we're going to 6,719, so
Okay.
200 feet
Because it
bigger.
sprawls like this house does.
Yeah, it's actually a little long, but thinner in width.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it was modest, and then the more I looked at the existing, the bigger it got. But I actually like the old house. I think this is a perfectly nice plan. I guess I'd be uptight about the decks, except that you've flown a drone around, so I feel less uptight about it. Anyone else have anything to say?
No objections, it's a nice design.
Curtis?
You gotta go a mile to find the house.
Oh, I know. Don't you love going down there?
wonderful.
I thought it was
So it's,
fantastic. Kind of
second of all-
magical mystery tour, and then you get to this place. It was kind of a lovely spot.
Yeah.
In terms of the design, I think your front gables do a great job of pushing the house down. It's one of the things that most people don't do. They try to create a massive house by
Yeah,
bringing
you're right.
making the gables more chunkier, but you're actually showing you're kind of flattening the house, even though it's not high to begin with. So I think you did, from a design standpoint, you did a great job.
Thank you.
Christina?
I think it's a very nice design and appropriate. A well-presented plan. Thank you.
Rob?
Just to be sure what I'm seeing, on the east elevation on A200, 2.00,
It's way in the back.
the lower right corner, it's the upper right corner. This is a sort of sleeping porch or a tucked-in porch?
Yes.
In your outdoor space?
Balcony.
I echo what people said. I think it's a very nice design. The only other 2 things that drew my eye were the chimney pots on top. I appreciate that you've only gone to 29 feet to keep it feeling low slung. I don't necessarily mind them. I'd prefer to see them 6 or 10 inches shorter. And then I assume, again, on this north elevation on the same sheet, is this a stairwell back here?
Yes,
behind?
the stair tower.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the only place where the fenestration seems a little bit modern-ish. But I assume you're trying to get light into a stairwell from the north.
Yeah, and just so you know, on the first floor, it's double hungs with transoms.
Yep.
Then that's a panel system.
That's panel, not glass.
Correct.
In between. Painted
And then-
panel.
Yes, painted white, like the trim, and then double hung windows above. So it's not full glass.
No more comments. I think it's very tasteful.
Thank you.
Any comment from the public? Hi, C-Mac.
Hi, C.M. Sami, President. I am the property owner to the north of this property. I concur with the board and the architects. This is a very beautiful house, nice house. I have no concerns regarding the design of the house. My concern is that similar to this house being a flag drive, also my house to the north is a flag drive off of Wyandanch. With the difference that my living room and garden terrace faces the north side of their property, which is the motor court, the driveway, the entrance to the house, with all the glass that we can see. So my request is that if, and there is a privilege that is separating us, which is my privilege, and I've also planted some more plants and trees to this north of that in order to provide more buffer. But my main concern is that both winter time and also whenever a car gets into there, their lights shine into the living room of our house. So if they could provide some additional screening, preferably evergreens for winter time, separating the driveway from my property, I would appreciate that.
We have no problem with that. We're going to be doing interior landscaping, obviously, because we have to take the plant material that's near the house now. We're going to winterize it and then replace it, so we have no problem planting some evergreens to block any light that might transpire or transfuse through the hedge.
This just needs to be a one-story. I don't need necessarily to have plant tall trees, 8 foot high.
And I'm more than happy to contact you and show you what we plan on doing.
So there isn't an actual landscaping plan in this packet, right?
No. Basically, what we are doing is leaving the perimeter plantings where they are.
Right.
Because they are so mature and large, we really don't have the ability to move them around, especially coming from a flag lot.
Yeah.
So that stuff will stay, but we will be doing interior plantings, and if the neighbor would like us to plant some evergreens on that side, we don't have a problem with that.
So how do we do that?
Well, it's up to the applicant and Mr. Semi. The board has power over landscape plans, and you can require a landscape plan if Mr. Semi felt that the owner in good faith would otherwise abide by an agreement to come to some satisfactory resolution.
Architect versus architect.
I have no problem, because as I said, the design, I don't have a concern, but again, being that these are flag drives, look at all that glass at nighttime, the light, and also drive the cars.
It's not a question of if or not, it's a question of how much and where and how high.
Right, so do you want us to request a landscaping plan, or are you going on the trust policy here?
So trust policy translates to what? That
trusting me to work with you.
Okay.
Shake hands in
Me and the client.
Very well. Okay.
I know, I hear what you're saying, and I think it's a legitimate concern, and I think it's great that their house isn't so high, but because...
I know, for instance, as an example in Sag Harbor, maybe Zach can comment on that too. I just was in front of the board. We got our approval for the addition and the new construction, but then the board asked us to come back with a landscape plan.
Well, that's what we're asking. Do we need to ask for a landscaping plan that reflects your wishes? Your concerns.
I think that I don't want to hold, let's put it this way, I do not want to hold approval of the applicant for...
I don't know how we can do that, though.
Did you approve subject to screening and having a specific height?
Subject to receipt of a landscaping. Sure.
Okay, so we could do it conditionally on a landscaping plan that you'll bring to our next meeting, or the next...
Or any meeting.
Any meeting?
You can't approve something and then ask them to come back with more material.
You can approve the building plans now, subject to a approval of a later submission and approval of a landscape plan.
Does it get them, it doesn't get them a building permit, or it does?
Sure it does.
Yeah.
So subject to receipt of a landscaping plan that shows evergreen planting that would reasonably screen...
They agree upon.
Yeah. Screening by the parking area and garage, is that correct?
Correct.
You can make
Could
that motion.
could I suggest that maybe can you submit information and maybe get a sign-off from him before you submit it? If you, or would you
We're going to get a plan.
submit a letter?
Him showing what
I'm just
we
saying, if we get a plan along with a letter from Sam McSammy saying that he had seen it and he agreed with it,
Well, but you still have to adjourn it to the next meeting.
Yeah.
So we do.
Yeah. No, you approve the building plans
Subject to.
now, subject to the subsequent
Receipt.
submission of a
Receipt,
landscape plan.
okay.
I'm saying I'd love to see, ideally, a letter from Sam X saying he's seen it
Well, I
and
think I'd
thinks
love,
it's
at
fine.
this point, I think we'd love to see a landscaping plan that indicates that in this particular area, there will be this screening that is all year long screening. For the sake of both. I mean, you're not going to love them over there either. You're not living there, I guess.
So may I make a motion to approve the plans for this property at 88 Pierpont Street as submitted, subject to receipt of a landscaping plan that shows acceptable evergreen screening of the motor court area from the north neighbor?
Second.
Rob?
Aye.
Aye.
Christina? Aye. Susan? Aye.
Aye.
Curtis?
Aye, but I think it's not,
Jeff?
it's not subject to Sammy's approval. It's subject
No,
to the
it's
board's approval.
right.
Correct.
Okay.
Is that what you said? Subject to, could we just go over the wording? So it is adjourned? No, it is approved.
Subject to receipt of.
Subject to,
Receipt by the board of a
and
landscape
approval
plan.
by the board.
By the board,
Yeah.
of course.
That shows acceptable screening. Jeff, all I was saying was it would help me if we additionally get a letter from CMX saying he's seen the plan and
We don't
believes
have
it
to do
addresses a
that.
concern.
That's our business, and that's not our business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the next application, Robert Campbell Trust, Bo, were you? It's in the Pheasant Close development, which requires, or we were told in the building department, a letter from the
I
Pheasant.
think that you're going to need a letter from the homeowners association approving the plans.
Yeah,
And Jackie called them.
so there's no one here. I think that they just
Well, you
didn't.
don't have any jurisdiction if you don't have any submission of a affidavit of mailing and posting.
Wasn't in the,
And there was a question of that no one saw a sign.
there was no posting on the property when I went by today.
Okay.
Aye.
So,
And then I just have a comment on the Joyce application, and that is, as I think I might have mentioned, one of the owners has passed away. This has been pending now by September, I think at least 18 or 19 months, if not more. So I think after September 10th, it would be my recommendation, no further approval of adjournments be given, unless they can come up with some specific concrete timing of what's going to happen.
okay, so when it comes up,
Yeah,
then that's
well,
it?
I just want to let you know that this
Okay.
has gone long enough, and now we've had a party cease on it, on the application, and it's just getting worse.
Okay.
At one point, prior to learning that one of the parties had died, we were going to send a letter expressing a concern just about maintenance at the property. Are we not going to do that anymore, or it was 2 meetings ago, I think.
We could, now that one of the owners has passed away. I know the other one's in a nursing
Yeah,
home, so I
I read
really
that.
don't know what kind of effect that's going to have.
But
I
is
think
there
we
s-
should just deal with it in
Yes.
September.
I think that also came up, to be honest, from May through most of June. There was not much apparent maintenance outside of the
Correct.
property. There has been
Yeah, they
some
weren't
over the
even
last...
cutting the grass.
Over the last month or so, they're cutting the grass, they're doing some other things, so maybe it's...
Okay, then also, now we have an issue. Columbus Day, October 8th, is of course a day for one of our meetings. We can either change it to Tuesday, October 9th, or cancel the meeting. I personally would be happy to cancel it. How does everyone else feel? Curtis?
I won't be here, so.
Okay, how about, okay, well, that's, so I guess we're going to, would you be amenable to canceling the October 9th meeting?
I would.
How about you, Rob?
Would be
Sure.
amenable to coming on
Not
Tuesday.
having been on the board before, is there any sort of seasonal rush or lull that time of year, or?
That's hard to call. That's fairly standard, so you do run the
Yeah, we might
you
have-
run the issue of doubling up on the next meeting. You could, I personally would not rather see it adjourned to the 9th. If you adjourned it, I'd rather see it adjourned to the next Monday, the 15th.
Right.
And then your next meeting would be the 22nd, but
a week later.
Have to decide today to cancel.
it's
there's
sort of the median amount of applications at that time, you know.
We've had a fairly light schedule here.
It happens in the summer because people want to start construction in the spring and by
Well, I
this time,
think
it's
the-
whatever. But you may see a general lull in
The law,
with
the
regard-
change of the law on August 1st may
in regard to
cause
the
some...
economy and everything else, things might slow down.
Okay, so do we have to,
You need a motion?
do I have a motion to cancel the meeting of
October 8th?
Monday, October 8th, 2018?
I make a motion that we cancel our meeting of Monday, October 8th, 2018.
I second it.
Curtis seconds. Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, aye. Curtis?
Aye.
Jeff, aye. Do I have a motion to close the meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for July 23rd, 2018?
I make the motion that we close this meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation on July 23rd, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Rob?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Susan, aye. Curtis?
Aye.
Jeff?